a Belgian lawmaker who co-founded a medicinal marijuana group without declaring her son's CBD business. Yeah, if it looks like moral turpitude issues, it almost doesn't even matter whether or not it is. The Belgian member of the European Parliament, Maria Arena, and her businessman son share a common interest. The socialist EU lawmaker whose properties police raided in connection with the Qatargate corruption scandal this past summer has taken a prominent role in efforts to harmonize EU cannabis laws in the European Parliament. And her son co-founded a company called BRC & Co. that sells CBD products made from an extract of cannabis that does not cause a high, as they report, that is legal in most EU countries, including Belgium. The cannabis business of her son was already in the spotlight for conflict of interest concerns in June when it emerged that he co-founded and co-ran BRC & Co. with the son of Michael Claes, the judge leading the Qatargate investigation. Not a good look. Claes did recuse himself shortly thereafter, and then, of course, in July, police raided Arena, discovering 280,000 euros in cash at Lemaire's home next door to hers. No gold bars, though. So the mother and son's interests have sometimes overlapped, including in December in 2019 when Arena hosted an event on cannabis at the European Parliament. The event was organized by Active, a cannabis trade association that lists Lemaire as its president. It was hailed as the first major event at the EU Parliament, and Arena said that her hosting the event did not represent a conflict because it in no way promoted a private interest, but rather a subject of general interest. And her event was actually about medical patients' access to therapeutic cannabis, not about adult use cannabis or CBD. And I am going to pause the story there because while it is an interesting story and so it's difficult, right? Because it usually takes somebody to have something else happen to have an interest in cannabis, per Gigi's, what she pointed out earlier, like most people don't care. So to get someone in Parliament or someone in Congress or someone in the Senate to care, then there's something else going on. Either there's someone that they care about or themselves that are sick and they need it as medicine, or they see the business opportunity. Is it, Main Street, Wall Street, or K Street that influenced and changed the heart and mind? Don't know, don't care. It's tricky, sticky, and sometimes icky. What I really want us to talk about, though, is California Senator Dianne Feinstein, who crossed the Rainbow Bridge this morning, I believe, early morning.
Yep.
I really want to talk about this. Dianne Feinstein came to power when Harvey Milk and Mayor Moscone, San Francisco mayor, were assassinated in SF City Hall. I share many concerns with Dianne Feinstein over the years, including gun safety concerns. I am a woman, I am a mother. She is the first woman to chair the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence and later the first woman to serve top Democrat on the Senate Judiciary Committee. I might say, as a Californian too long on the Senate Judiciary Committee. She was the first woman president of the SF Board of Supervisors, the first woman mayor of San Francisco, the first woman elected senator of California. Badass, all in on that. She also led the CIA's detention interrogation problems with waterboarding and torture. What Feinstein has done on some of these issues, I will forever appreciate and honor, and I honor her memory in those ways. As a cannabis policy reform advocate, I am grateful that she is no longer standing in our way. Feinstein said her experience on California's parole board confirmed her belief in the gateway theory, even though it's been widely disproven. And I want to point out that Utah-based General Dynamics and BAE Systems are two of Feinstein's top campaign contributors. Both companies make tanks and other military tactical equipment often used in domestic drug raids. And as drug and marijuana prohibition lose their popular support, as prohibition becomes less popular, It truly were the crony capitalists like Senator Feinstein who continued to champion not only the most un-American of policies at the behest of these companies who had immense profits, again, follow the money, from a 40-year exercise in militarizing every aspect of our community-based law enforcement and our government policies, using federal civil asset forfeiture laws. Law enforcement here in California has absolutely worked within those federal laws up until we made it illegal to do so. And, you know, Feinstein served in the US Senate since 1992. She came out in not only full opposition to legalization, you might remember, as I do, that she chaired the No on Prop 19 campaign in 2010. Prop 19 was the first full legalization initiative that was narrowly defeated largely because of opposition of her, along with our current vice president, who wrote the ballot argument against us. And yes, Governor Newsom was also against it. She called it a dangerous experiment based on false arguments and fake promises. And my question to this group that I would rather discuss than that Belgian European Parliament person is, and Gigi, this question is for you and Jason. How is her getting out of the way? Because I feel like her and Biden are just hand in glove in continuing what I will call a softer, gentler prohibition. Sure, it's not as like, you know, punch you in the nose and you know, semi-automatic weapons on patients anymore. But the detriment is still there. How is this going to affect Washington, in your opinion?
Well, yes, Dianne Feinstein, and as much as you may not agree with her politics, is a big loss. She was a pioneer for women, and she was a lion in the Senate. She truly was. On policy, drug policy, not so great. What is really going to matter with the passing of Feinstein is who comes up behind her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as truly as the next senator for California, where this industry is huge, we need them to be somebody who cares about cannabis. Even someone who's indifferent is not going to be helpful. I mean, we truly need somebody who cares about what is going on in the state of California. And that is the only way that I can see cannabis really benefiting. Now,
Mm-hmm.
they will benefit, I would say, also from someone under the age of 90. I'm hopeful that California will put forward someone a bit younger because we have repeatedly said on the show that cannabis is a generational issue, especially when it comes to this Congress, that so many of these folks are 1,000 years old. And actually, you asked for who remembers Reefer Madness. These people do. And so I think getting a younger body in there will also be greatly helpful.
And it's going to be a black woman, says Mr. Newsom, but not anyone who's running. So I'm curious if there's any bets because it just knocked
Well,
Barbara Lee out. You know,
historically, what we've seen in the past is the people who are put in or appointed by a governor when someone passes are not the ongoing senator or member of Congress. That person is a placeholder who knows they're going to be a placeholder. And they generally, if they go for re-election after they're in the special election that comes up, they do not win. So I don't care who the hell they put in the seat for the next year. Frankly, it doesn't matter. Who matters is who comes after.
Yep, I totally agree with that, Gretchen. With that analysis, I'm 100%. I want to thank Leah Patrick for the super chat, big super chat by Leah Patrick. We want to thank you so much for that, Leah. Yes, and you know,
can I shout out Angela Baca, who wrote this story back in 2014 that I went and dug up to remind myself about how Dianne Feinstein opposed legalization.
yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at that. And you know, the thing about it is this is Dianne Feinstein got elected on the back of the death of Harvey Milk. And the fact that the reason that we even have medical cannabis in the first place is because of the HIV/AIDS epidemic that plagued California and the rest of the world so vigilantly during that time. And so it's very, very hypocritical that she has taken the stance. She has always had this stance. I know back when I first got a store, I had a patient by the name of Judith Kushner, who happened to be a longtime friend of Dianne Feinstein. And she was a patient of mine, and she was dying of cancer. And she had reached out to Dianne numerous times to tell her to please take some type of lead on this issue. She was 100% resistant. Judith Kushner even gave me letters that Dianne Feinstein had wrote to her saying how she was in total opposition to cannabis and was not in favor of it in any way whatsoever. Even if it did help her, she did not really care about that at all. And so on that, I am glad that she is totally out of the way when it comes to cannabis policy. I do wish her family the best and want to, you know what I'm saying, console the losses during their mourning period and whatnot, and be respectful of that. But as far as it comes to cannabis policy, this is actually some good news.
What's the effect on safe banking with this? Is there an effect? Is the replacement person going to vote for safe banking?
There'll just be one less Democratic vote for safe banking, or maybe one more no vote
Well,
for safe banking.
I don't.
This is a
We'll see if
judge's
someone's in
policy.
place by the time that the vote comes up. I mean, it takes sometimes to appoint somebody. It doesn't always happen overnight. We'll see.
Gretchen, you have the count over there. So does this affect the whipping in the Senate in regards to losing her vote one way or the other?
No.
I
Perfect.
think it might affect the feelings, though, of some people who felt like they needed to honor her wishes in certain ways, where like some of that personal pressure.
Well,
weighs more over time.
While someone might be an opponent to legalization, I have found them not to be opponents to safe banking, because if they can put on the glasses and look at this as a banking bill and not a cannabis bill, then they are not opposed to it. So I don't know if she would have voted against it. The woman has pushed for research bills, and it was semi trying to get on one side of cannabis or the other. I don't know where Dianne Feinstein stood on safe banking. I really don't.
You're talking about someone that a lot of the activists, okay, would totally pander to in regards to, and they viewed progress from her office on cannabis policy when she took out the flyers for the DEA museum, Gretchen.
All I'm saying is just because, and you can look at, good old Daines, who is the lead sponsor of this bill. He is not a proponent of legalization, but he's the lead sponsor on cannabis banking. All I'm saying is that folks might be opposed to legalization, but they are not opposed to banking. So you can't just say that because these people are against cannabis that they are opposed to moving this legislation forward. You can't paint them with that same brush.
Fair enough.